Hey folks, it's Dr. Sean Baker here. There are a lot of conflicting claims around sugar. One, it causes stress, or some people say it lowers stress even. Keeps you alive, you have to have it, or some people think it kills you. So how are we supposed to know what to think? Well, we're going to talk about 5 topics on sugar today. You guys ready? Let's go do this. Okay, the first claim that some people make is, eating sugar is going to help you naturally lower your stress level. Well, the physiology of sugar, as most people know, will raise your blood glucose. And in a normal functioning person, our pancreas will then secrete insulin to bring that glucose back down into the tissues that utilize them. However, considering that a high percentage of the American population, some would estimate up to 88% of us, are metabolically compromised, in that situation, this can lead to abnormal issues. And a lot of people are what we call carbohydrate intolerance. And so you might have abnormally high levels of glucose, which can lead certainly to inflammation over time. That is very, very clearly been shown. This over time can lead to things like diabetes, polycystic ovarian syndrome, autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's, thyroiditis. High blood glucose also sets off a series of reactions, which can lead to things like stress hormones being elevated, cortisol, adrenaline. This can also lead to muscle breakdown and then fat accumulation. So this combination of all these stress hormones flowing, fat accumulation, a host of other problems leading to potentially liver problems, skeletal problems, heart problems, sleep disorders, autoimmune conditions on top of this. And so to me, that seems like a recipe for more rather than less stress for a high percentage of the people. Okay, here's a really interesting one. A lot of people will talk about sugar addiction. There's people out there say, no, sugar is clearly not addictive. It's not like a drug in any way, shape, or form. But is that truly the case? Now, there have been a number of animal studies, particularly mouse studies, that have shown that the craving for sugar in mice actually surpassed that of even cocaine. In fact, one study showed that they were able to pinpoint the dopamine pathway and the addictive behavior pattern that the mice exhibited by stimulating them with sugar. They had a pattern where they would have craving and then binging and then withdrawal, and that pattern would continue over and over again. And probably some of you guys are familiar with that exact same scenario. The addiction cycle with sugar is very clear in many people. So I think it's pretty clear that the cravings get more intense, the more addicted you get, and the cycle just continues to get worse and worse, and you feed more and more sugar. The best way to avoid sugar addiction is basically to avoid sugar. Okay, the next sort of controversial topic is that things like natural sugars, fruit, honey, and so on and so forth, are different. They're special, and they don't act like sugar coming from things like table sugar. Well, the reality is that physiologically, they basically do the same thing. Now, sometimes fruit will be combined with other substances. Maybe there's some useful compounds in there. Sometimes it'll be diluted by things like fiber and so on and so forth. But the actual sugar molecules that are in fruit are the same sugar molecules that are found in, sucrose. I mean, you got glucose and fructose and others that are very similar. And so the physiology can be very similar. So when you have concentrated fruit products like fruit juices or dried fruits and things like that, again, it's natural, but again, you get that very concentrated surge of rapidly acting sugar or carbohydrates in your system. This can lead to high blood glucose spikes, which again can set up predisposition for things like diabetes, prediabetes, hyperinsulinemia, chronic inflammation, so on and so forth. The vitamins and minerals that you may be absorbing may be unavailable to you to some degree because of the high amounts of sugar that the body is dealing with. And so these natural sugars are really not any significantly better than the sugar that you find in table sugar. It's just that they're, basically diluted with other substances. Okay, this one is an interesting one. Sugar is the best fuel for performance. Now, this is a certainly interesting topic. Now, many athletes will feel that they get a burst of energy when they consume sugar, and that certainly can be seen in elevations in blood glucose. Now, very often that's associated with a slump in performance afterwards, so depending on the timing of that, so some people will continuously, consume sugar every, period of time, like marathon runners, every hour they're consuming a certain amount of grams of carbohydrate to sustain their performance, and that works for some people, but for many people, sugar is unnecessary for high-level performance. In fact, there are many people out there now being shown that they can perform at extremely high levels without any exogenous carbohydrate whatsoever, purely running on fat and the sugar that our body makes. Remember, our body is constantly keeping our glucose level at a certain level, particularly when we're healthy, even without any sugar in our body at all. Fat, for distance sports, provides a long-lasting, steady supply, and we have basically an unlimited supply of that on our body. all but the very few of us that may have very little body fat. But anyone with even a normal amount of body fat has literally hundreds of thousands of calories, which will sustain them through for very long activities. So sugar may have some benefits in certain situations, but it's not necessarily the best fuel for performance. Okay, the last one is kind of similar. You can use sugar for a boost of energy, and so that is partially true. I mean, you may get a temporary spike, but that is often, and most often, followed by a significant crash. So the overall energy output may be a net negative. So you may have a temporary burst in activity followed by a long, drawn-out period of inactivity, sluggishness, mental brain fog, and things like that. So it may not be the best idea to consume a piece of candy or some, real quick pick-me-up, over the long haul. So your performance may ultimately be, and your energy level may ultimately be a net negative. Okay, folks, so there you have it. There's 5, basically, I guess, lies about sugar that you might have been told. Are there any other things you've been told about sugar that you sort of disagree with? Let me know in the comments below. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, use the notification bell to be notified when these videos come out. And if you haven't already, share these videos with people you think may benefit from that. Okay, guys, thanks. We'll talk to you soon.